You know, if you've ever placed a trade, you know the feeling. You've got a solid strategy, you've done all your homework, but the second you're about to pull the trigger, something just takes over your brain. You hesitate, you chase a stock that's already taken off, or you panic sell at the worst possible moment. Look, the hard truth is that for most traders, the biggest hurdle isn't their technique. It's the battle they're fighting inside their own head.
And this quote just absolutely nails it. It's not some big, shadowy institution or a super fast algorithm that's your biggest opponent. Nope. The real adversary is that little voice in your head, the one that whispers doubts and fuels those gut-wrenching impulses. Your own psychology can turn what should be a game of probability into an emotional roller coaster.
So, in this explainer, we're going to map out that internal battlefield. First, we'll shine a light on that hidden enemy. Then, we're going to meet the 4 specific fears that are probably sabotaging your trades right now. We'll break down how to fight those internal fears of loss and ego. Then, we'll tackle the external ones, FOMO and greed. And finally, we'll give you a practical playbook to become that unshakable trader.
All right, let's dive into the core of the problem. So many traders spend, literally years looking for that one holy grail strategy, thinking that's the magic key. But the real reason most people struggle has almost nothing to do with their charts or their indicators.
Here's the thing you have to understand. Fear just consumes your emotional control. It triggers our ancient, hardwired survival instincts at the absolute worst moments. And that leads to these impulsive decisions that, deep down, you know are wrong, but you make them anyway. This is that hidden enemy that can turn a perfectly good trading plan into a series of predictable and, often devastating losses.
To fight an enemy, you've got to know its name. And the legendary trading coach Mark Douglas, in his classic book, Trading in the Zone, he identified what we can basically call the 4 horsemen of your trading account. These are the 4 primary fears behind the vast majority of trading mistakes.
Okay, so here they are. The fear of losing money, the fear of being wrong, the fear of missing out, we all know that one, FOMO, and its very close cousin, the fear of leaving money on the table. Each one of these attacks your decision-making process in a totally different way. So let's break them down and take away their power.
We're going to start with the first 2, because these are deeply personal. These are the internal fears, the ones that are all tangled up with your ego and your fundamental relationship with money and your own self-worth. Honestly, these are often the most powerful and the trickiest to overcome. Now, these fears aren't just some random feelings that pop up. Oh no, they are fueled by predictable glitches in our brain's operating system called cognitive biases. You can think of them as these little mental shortcuts that helped our ancestors survive, like running from a rustle in the bushes without waiting to see if it's a tiger. But they are absolutely disastrous when we apply them to the financial markets.
And this one is the big one, loss aversion. It was first identified by the psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. And what it means is that the pain of losing, say $100, feels about twice as strong as the pleasure of gaining $100. This single bias explains why so many traders cut their winning trade short. They're rushing to lock in that little hit of pleasure while they let their losing trades run and run, just hoping to avoid that intense gut punch of pain.
But you know what? The fear of being wrong can be even more dangerous. This isn't just about the money anymore. It's about protecting our ego. From the time we're kids, we're taught that being wrong is bad. So when a trade goes against us, hitting that stop loss doesn't just feel like a financial loss. Our brain registers it as a personal failure, a public announcement that we were wrong, and our ego will fight tooth and nail to avoid that feeling.
So, how in the world do you fight back against that? Well, it starts with a powerful mental reframe, a new mantra, like this one. This simple sentence shifts your entire goal. You stop trying to be a fortune teller on every single trade, and you start acting like a casino owner, focusing only on executing a process that gives you an edge over hundreds of trades.
Okay, so what can you actually do? Here are the tactical antidotes. First, you have to fully and completely accept the risk before you even click the button. That acceptance neutralizes the fear. Second, treat your stop loss as just data. It's not drama. It's just information telling you your idea was invalid. And this one is crucial. Size your position so small that any single loss is financially and emotionally insignificant. A loss should feel, boring.
Now, if those first 2 fears were internal battles, these next 2 are triggered by the outside world. The market's noise, the flashing red and green lights on your chart, and that nagging feeling that everyone else is getting rich without you.
Come on, we've all been there, right? You're sitting there, being disciplined, following your plan, and then, bam, a stock just explodes higher. Your heart starts pounding, your palms get sweaty, and you jump in right at the top just in time for it to reverse. That powerful, almost irresistible urge? Yeah, that's the fear of missing out. That's FOMO.
But here's the good news. This isn't some personal failing. It's a deep-seated human instinct called herding bias. Our brains think there's safety in the crowd. The problem is, in trading, the crowd is almost always late to the party. Chasing the herd just means you're buying someone else's profits, not creating your own.
See, FOMO is a perfect storm of these cognitive biases. That huge green candle on the chart, it triggers the availability bias. It's like a fire alarm that hijacks all your attention. Then, recency bias kicks in and convinces you that this crazy move is going to continue forever. And finally, the herd effect makes you feel like an idiot for not being a part of it. All three of them together create a sense of panic that just steamrolls all of your logic. And what about that fourth fear? Well, the fear of leaving money on the table is really just greed, which is basically FOMO wearing a different mask. It's that little voice that whispers in your ear, "Don't sell yet, it could go higher, you can get more." This is driven by something called the illusion of control, that mistaken belief that we can somehow perfectly time the top and squeeze every last penny out of a trade.
Here is your shield against both FOMO and greed. You have to fundamentally rewire your perspective. When a trade takes off without you, you didn't miss anything. If it wasn't a part of your predefined plan, it was never your trade in the first place. What you really did was successfully avoid a potential mistake. And that, my friends, is a win.
So, we've named the fears, we've identified the brain glitches that fuel them. Now, let's build the systems and the mindset to make you unshakable. This final section is all about creating a professional identity that's supported by a practical, actionable playbook.
You know, the core of becoming unshakable is making this identity shift. See, amateurs are obsessed with the outcome of a single trade. They're emotionally reactive. Professionals, they're obsessed with flawlessly executing their process over and over again. They accept risk as just part of the game, and they treat every single trade as just one piece of data in a much larger puzzle.
Here's a powerful tool you can use immediately. Before you even start your trading day, try this box breathing exercise. It's a simple technique used by Navy SEALs to stay calm under immense pressure. Just doing a few of these cycles can physically calm your nervous system, pulling you out of that reactive fight or flight state and allowing your rational brain to get back in the driver's seat. And these are the pillars of your defense. A written trading plan removes all the guesswork from your decisions. Strict risk management, like risking only 1 to 2% of your account per trade, ensures that no single trade can ever knock you out of the game. Keeping a journal helps you find the patterns in your emotional mistakes. And setting a personal circuit breaker, like say, I stopped trading for the day after 2 losses, prevents a bad day from turning into a disaster.
So, the most crucial point is this. Success in trading isn't about eliminating fear. That's impossible. You're human. It's about building a fortress of structure, habits, and self-awareness around you so that when fear inevitably shows up, it doesn't get to make any decisions for you. You act on your plan, not your panic. That is what makes a trader unshakable.
And really, it all comes down to this one question. The market is, by its very nature, completely uncertain. That is never going to change. The only variable in this whole equation that you have absolute control over is you. The market will always be a question mark. The only real question is, will your mindset be the answer?